Welcome. My name is Habiba if you're new here, and today we're going to be making a vegan Caribbean fruitcake. So first you're going to need some tools. Make sure you assemble your tools ahead of time. And then of course you're going to need some white rum. Wray and Nephew is preferred, but you can use whichever one you have. And you will also need some red wine. I would check with barnivore.com so that you can find out whether your wine or your rum is vegan, because not all wine or rum is vegan, depending on how it's processed. All right, so this is an overview of our ingredients. We have quite a few, but don't worry, it's actually not that bad.
This is our burnt sugar, cinnamon, baking powder, vanilla, nutmeg. And over here we have brown sugar, applesauce. This is flaxseed. Flaxseed comes like this. Well, at least this brand does. And it looks like a nice powder. This is vegan butter. It's kind of nice that you can get it in sticks. This is the version that I'm getting, or the brand. There's so many brands nowadays. And if you don't have vegan butter, you can instead use like coconut oil and a number of other options that I have listed in the book. We also have some gluten-free flour. So you can use regular flour, or you can use gluten-free flour. Of course, we have our fruit that has been soaking for, in this case, over a year.
A close-up of the fruit that's been soaked. Here is 1 cup. And I just wanted to show you the contrast between the maraschino cherries that have not been soaked and the ones that have been soaked. So this is 1 cup.
Anyway, these are the ingredients. And in terms of the instructions, it's pretty much similar to making a regular cake, really. And when it comes to ingredients, of course, we need our lime. Lime is very important in the cake. This is the flaxseed, turning it into flaxseed eggs, so to speak. So just adding water to the flaxseed and letting it sit for about 5 minutes. And it's gonna get thick and gelatinous. This is equivalent to 8 eggs. Perfect.
So I'm starting off with my stand mixer, assembling it up. And if you don't have a stand mixer, go ahead and use your hand whisk. That would be just fine. And of course, if you don't have that, you might need to use a wooden spoon like our grandmothers used to do. Okay, so you saw I used the paddle attachment because our first 2 ingredients are going to be the butter and also sugar. So we're going to start off with the paddle attachment. So make sure you keep the wraps for your butter because you're going to use it for your tins later. So in goes the butter, and now I am going to gently add in the dark brown sugar, just adding a little bit at a time and then continuing to mix. So you're going to kind of add an ingredient, stop the machine every so often to make sure it's mixing well, and use your spatula when you need to. So far this is basically vegan butter and the brown sugar, dark brown sugar, and it looks amazing, right? All right, so let me show you the flaxseed. So this is flaxseed in water, and basically it went from being a powder to this sort of gelatinous thick consistency, and this is what's going to bind the cake, kind of like eggs. So this is equivalent to about 8 eggs. It's so cool. So cool. Just gonna go ahead and add it to my vegan butter and brown sugar and mix this just like you would a regular cake. Actually find the dots that the flaxseed leaves quite pretty. Okay, I'm gonna add the applesauce, and at which point I will change the attachment from the paddle to the whisk, because because when it becomes a little bit, thinned out, more liquidy, usually traditionally when you add regular eggs, you would have the whisk attachment. I'm just gonna add the applesauce. Do a little bit at a time. And if you don't have both flaxseed and applesauce, don't fret, just use applesauce. If you have just flaxseed, just use the flaxseed eggs. But if you have both, then I suggest you can use both. But I've seen many vegan or vegetarian cake makers use either applesauce or just, the flaxseed. I kind of like using both. Before I change the whisk or add the whisk attachment, I like to make sure I take my spatula and go to the bottom of the bowl just to make sure if there's any, anything that hasn't been properly mixed, that I bring it up. All right, let's add the whisk attachment. Bring this up, and now we're ready to roll. And I'm going to use a total of 4 cups. So again, this is cherries and prunes and currants and raisins, and then I'm going to coarsely blend this. That's all I want. I don't want it any more than that. Okay? So, let's show you. Now this is going to add to the color of the cake as well. As you can see, my soaked fruit still has quite a bit of texture. Some people like to blend it until it's smooth. Almost everything with the fruit, but without the burnt sugar yet. So the burnt sugar will definitely change the color. And I also haven't added the flour yet. How much burnt sugar you add depends on how dark you want the cake. Usually at least 4 tablespoons. To take the whisk off so that I don't overmix it and then do it by hand when it's halfway done. As you can see, just like with the regular cake batter, it looks like, that kind of chocolate color. So yeah, the consistency is a little bit different than with regular cake because the longer it sits, it tends to get more dense as the flaxseed sort of expands and absorbs into it. I definitely didn't want it to be too runny. Who would imagine that this has no eggs in it? So that wasn't too hard, right? Now that the batter is done, I'm going to pour it into 2 butter and parchment lined cake tins and then bake it. And before you know it, your cake is done. Done, done, done. Time to celebrate. Ready to eat. Well, hopefully you have some patience and you'll wait. And for demonstration purposes, I even made some cupcakes. Of course, they would look a lot better with some frosting. We're gonna let it cool and add some rum and wine to it. So I wanted you to see the texture and how pretty it is. Of course, the texture is slightly different than the original or classic Jamaican rum cake or black cake or Caribbean fruit cake, but it is just as delicious and nice and soft. Hopefully you're inspired to make this cake and give it as a gift, especially if you put it in a cake tin. And if you want to do something non-traditional, you can turn it into a bundt cake or serve it at your next tea party for one, or tea party for your family. Add some whipped cream, strawberries, and of course there's Valentine's Day and Christmas. Christmas deserves this cake. So yes, you can ice it or you can serve it plain. It's up to you, but enjoy. And of course, I'd like to thank my Jamaican grandfather for the inspiration. I hope you will check out my book, which should be available. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye!